Welcome everyone. Today we've got an exciting session. We're going to go through Semantic Kernel, teaching AI not to repeat, but complete. I'm Rory, Preddy, Principal Cloud Advocate at Microsoft, and we're going to go through some very brief slides and then into a demo around this topic. So I'm going to give you an introduction to the history and also the movement of what generative AI is. We're going to look at how to utilize semantic kernel and also the RAG pattern. Then we're going to look at using AI-driven templates with the Azure Developer CLI. So how did we actually get here? Now, it's important to understand that this industry has actually been driven since 2018 by something called the multimodal transformer architect. And in that, the multimodal transformer architect, you have the combining layer, visual embeddings, and text embeddings, and there's so many different nuances around there. What it basically does, it normalizes the weighting that you get when you train on image and also textual data. This has been around since 2018 and was introduced by the Google team as in the paper, the seminal paper, Attention is All You Need. And this opened up a whole world for us, Microsoft and Google and other companies around that. Because what we then did, we were given the ability to go in and create training architecture. So you can see here, this is a GPT-3 model training architecture. We've taken the data, then we do data transformation with tokenization. We then do encoding and decoding into latent space. So we just create a GPU kind of like mindset. Hey, here's a universe of words. We use deep speed and zero to actually go in and do GPU allocation. We trained it on the world's largest supercomputer on Azure. And then we have the foundation models. And what that gave us is the ability to take text and data. We trained it up already, put it into a transformer model, and then it adapts to what our output was. So you can do question and answering, semantic analysis, information extraction, image capturing, object recognition, instruction followers, and everything that you've heard around the industry bragging about with GPTs, though. But the problem is that people kind of have freaked out about that when they realize what it could do. We got some people saying it's good for humanity, saying it's bad for humanity. Some people saying it's useless, others saying it's capable. But you know, there are some scary parts of it, but we are addressing that as Microsoft with responsible AI and going through testing processes to make sure that the people with the bad humanity and the useless and also the bad humanity and capable are not actually right, though. AI will not take your jobs and will not enslave us because it unlocks new human potential, and there's some very useful applications. And we believe that in no more than 3 years' time, anything that is not connecting to AI will be considered broken and invisible. This is our prediction by one of our chief data scientists, Sam Schlantz. And because we see this as the next evolution of building blocks for dev tools and engineering approaches. So in the beginning, there was mainframe, then you had desktop, internet, mobile, and cloud. The next evolution of that ladder is AI. There's a problem, though, because we say AI and it's the next evolution, but generative AI doesn't really have context of your data. So you aren't really a part of that. We train it, and we train the GPT-3 model, but what about you and your interests and your data that you want to actually go and inspect, though? So, for example, here is, does my health plan cover annual expenses? And it says response, I'm an AI language model and don't have access to specific information about your health plan. And then we've seen the industry kind of immediately pivot to try and get your data into those mechanisms, though. So Microsoft has had access to GPT-4 more than anyone else. We've partnered with OpenAI, and as a result, we've created the ability to orchestrate that AI using the Copilot stack. So you've got your apps, and you've got your plugin capabilities, you've got your Copilots, and Windows Copilot, Office Copilot. Then you've got your AI orchestration, and then you've got your foundational models and your AI infrastructure. Now, the Copilots are extensive, and we've been rolling these out as part of the Microsoft stack to multiple times. Even 3 years ago, we rolled out GitHub Copilot, which uses a generative model, and also we gave it your data, which is the Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio, your text that you're working on, the programming text that you are working on. But then we actually added a few more. Now, I personally have 10 of these robots floating around on my PC, on Microsoft Bing, Edge, Word, Outlook, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, Business Chat for Teams also, Windows Copilot, and all of the other ones that I haven't even got to start with it, though. And how we did this is we used the retrieval augmented generation pattern. It's an old pattern, actually. It's 5 to 6 years old already. And what this does, it grounds intelligent applications on existing data. So you've got your app user experience and user interface. Then you've got your orchestrator. In our case, I'm going to focus on semantic kernel. And then you've got Azure Cognitive Search, which will go in and it will index your data, because we want to be able to retrieve that data quickly. And then you can put your data sources into Azure Cognitive Search. And then once it does that, the generative model goes and queries your cognitive search, though, and it's augmented generation around that. So you retrieve and you augment with those queries, though. You also want to give it the ability to actually go retrieve it, though. So what you do is that when you say to go retrieve that information, you use plugins. Here, for example, is plugins, and you've got Brainstorm, email generation, short poem, story gen, and translate. We're going to go through some of those in the demo, though. But it allows your system, your orchestrator, to go in, hey, I'm going to use the best tool for the job. In this case, can you write me a short poem about living in Dublin, Ireland, and then create a story based on the poem? And then we'll say, sure. And what it does, it takes the RAG pattern and finds those necessary plugins that you need and kind of collects them, and then goes and calls your cognitive search data. So let's go through a nice example. It starts with a user ask. So in that example here, we had create me a short poem about living in Dublin, Ireland, and then create a story based on that poem. So we create a poem and then create a story. So in that case, we know what the ask is. We're going to follow some really nice architectural principles. We're going to emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So emphasize, we actually know what the story is, and we're going to take that story and put it into a planner. And the planner is going to go, okay, I know what you want, and I'm going to go through the necessary skills or plugins to go in and retrieve that. We're then going to go define it, and how we define it is we go and gather the plugins, gather the memories, and then the data APIs. We're going to ideate by retrieving that information, running it and returning it back to the caller. Then we're going to prototype by putting that into a application, and then we're going to test. And you can see here the pipeline steps are a little bit further to what a normal prompt for OpenAI will be, because what you're doing really is you're asking the person to come up with the dream, the idea that they have of what they want, and then to go forward with that, though. So that's all the slides and introduction I want to do. Next, I'm going to show you a little demo with Semantic Kernel, though. So let's go into here, into Visual Studio. So I've loaded the Semantic Kernel Tools, which are a Visual Studio extension. And when I load those tools in, I've also loaded the Semantic Kernel project. In the links below, you can access that project. So the project has a few folders here, and we're very interested in 2 folders. The sample folder here, if you can click over there, you get a lot of samples. And inside the sample folder, we have apps and skills. You can go into the Semantic Kernel extension here, and you'll see the skills, and we've renamed these recently to plugins. But plugins and skills used interchangeably here, they're very simple. They're just prompts. So if I go into the joke skill here, let's just close that, and it says write exactly 1 joke or humorous story about the topic below. And joke must be G-rated, workplace, family safe, no sexism, and no bigotry. Be creative and funny, I want to laugh. Incorporate the style suggestion if provided. So what we're doing here is we're meta prompting. So I've already connected this to my AI endpoints on Azure OpenAI. And if I click on settings, I can actually see here, if I click on a function here, function skills here, Function good started. Okay, so some of the joke one doesn't have that, but you can do max tokens, temperature, top P, and we've let everything to be the same. So let's go and test joke. Oh, there we go. Max tokens 1,000. Let's click on joke here. It's going to prompt you here, max style. Okay, I'm going to go informal style, informal. And then the joke, I'm going to say, I want to do dragons. Okay, it's going to go in there and it's going to call open out. Now remember, what we're doing is we're augmenting. We're getting data back and we're trying to actually see how far we can go with the prompts here. So it took 4 seconds here, 84 input tokens, output tokens 26. Why don't dragons make good company employees? Because every time they're asked to fire someone, they take it literally. So that's great and everything, but I want to make a children's book of that. So how do I do that? How do I augment that and use the planner to go in and collect all the skills at once? Now, you can go into Semantic Kernel here, and now you can see here under planners, it says create a plan. So I'm going to go to create a plan. I've got a planning folder here already, select plan folder. And now I'm going to add let's go into here, the writer skill and then the fun skill. Because these are skills, but they're actually plugins. And similar to the OpenAI plugins, they're actually written in the OpenAI standardization for plugins. So I'll go, okay, enter the plan name, and I'm going to call this kids books, kids joke book, and let's just move that space there. There we go. And now I'm going to give it a goal, and this is where the RAG pattern really comes in there. I'm going to go write a joke for children on dragons and create a short book on the joke. So it's going to use two skills there, or plugins. It's going to use the writer skill to go and write a book, and then the joke skill to get all that information. And all the time using the RAG pattern to go get that information from the previous one and daisy chaining it across those. So let's hit enter here. And now it's going to go in there and create my plan. Let's hit refresh here. Sometimes it does take a few seconds here. Let's go create plan here. There we go. Kids joke book here. And then we got, okay, write a joke for dragons. And then it says selected skills, what we want to do. We don't have to worry about what to do here. We can just go, we see here that you're going to go and that. So the model here, the plan steps is fun, skill, joke, and then write a story gen, and then novel outline. So it's got 3 that we're going to use. Now we can execute that plan. And that's going to go into OpenAI, and I don't have to worry about taking prompts and running with them and doing all of that, though, because it's much easier just to have a plan. It's called goal-orientated programming, and then run with that and get the system to assist me here. So the first thing, the joke came through, so let's go in and see a generated joke. So outputs joke. Let's go open that a little bit there. Okay, so let's go through. Remember, it's a lot of information. And plan steps, fun skill. Way too much information for me to see in the chat though. But it's got the joke, and now it's going to write the story gen and then the novel outline around that. Let's go and see what the output is of that. Oh, there we go. The input. This is the state for the novel outline says the humorous take on why dragons should not make good company employees. Let's go see if we can see the. So that was the joke that we did previously. And then here we have the plan results. In this chapter, we meet our protagonist, a well-known but somewhat native HR manager called Susan, and it goes there all the way through to employees and dragon, exactly what we saw there before, though. So how do I get started with this and put it into an application? Now, if you remember the listing here under the files, under samples, there was something called Book Creator web app. And there's a lot of other nice little apps there. So let's go open up the Book Creator. So let's go into here. And I've got a nice TypeScript and React application here. And I've got a nice little model here that says the ask, the hooks, it will go call the semantic kernel. And then the components here, create book, and the task button. So let's go into here, and now we want to start this up. So the first thing we want to do, now we want the semantic kernel to be managed by a separate process. You can actually put it into a web app also. But I'm going to go into one of the other processes, and I'm going to go and create a kernel HTTP server. It's basically just a REST server that takes the OpenAI specification and sends it back to JSON when you call a skill. So let's go into File, Open Recent, and I want to go into kernel HTTP server here. Now I'm just going to go there, func start, and that's going to take all the skills and it's just going to provide a REST services. So you can actually go in and call those REST services here. I also want to go back to my application. So let's go File, Open Recent, and then here's my book creator. So let's see how we can do that. It's all written in TypeScript. You can go in and inspect it if you want here. And I want to go yarn start. So this is going to connect to OpenAI, and it's going to use the semantic kernel that we've had there in that HTTP kernel server. And that is a listing of all the skills that we've already tested now, though. So I've already kind of set it up here. I've got my OpenAI key. I've got my endpoint here. And then I've got my endpoint here. Now it's going to connect to that. Look how many functions that this uses here. Book ideas, novel ideas, create book, summarize, translate, and rewrite. I don't have to worry about chaining them all of there and getting the data wherever I want, though. All I have to do is have an idea, a dream, a kind of an end goal that I want to do. Okay, create a book. What is the topic that we want? We want to go dragons in the workplace. Dragons in the workplace. So let's go get some ideas here. So let's click through that. Now it's going to go and it's going to get the book ideas. And at the same time, it's using the planner service here and also the semantic kernel. Now, the planner service can also use embeddings. So you can actually take data and you can pop it into a smaller model and you can get those embeddings. We haven't done that right now, but I've got dragons at the desk, coffee breathing dragon. So let's go to coffee breathing dragon, get ideas here. And now it's going to take that information and using the RAG pattern, transfer that data, and it could be a database, it could be anything that you actually retrieve here. The office dragon, yes, let's go create a book. At the same time, the samples is pretty fantastic because you can see the processing. So you can actually go show process, and it's going to create a book. Now, this is going to take a minute. We already saw that with the plan. It's going to take a few seconds here. There we go. It's going to go to that API there, create plan, create an 8-page children's book called The Office Dragon about in a world where everyone has a personal dragon. Meet Spark, and it's going to go through that, though. And then we'll get the dragon for that. Now, there's quite a nice number of samples that you can go to. My favorite is that there's a GitHub sample that goes in and creates a chatbot of all of the underlying GitHub markdown files that you have. So if you have a project that you're working in collaborative with other developers or your company, you can create a bot that has ingested all of that information and helped you create a RAG pattern for that. Okay, let's go see our book here. And here's our book. We've got our book here. Let's go at the top here. Let's go show book here. There's our book. We've got a kid's book here, and we can go in and use DALL-E to actually go in and manifest pictures for that, though. So this is the one show. Now, I know what you're thinking, Rory, this is not really based on real world. The solution to that is that we have real-world templates that I'm going to showcase right now. So let me go back into Microsoft PowerPoint here. So we finished with the demo now. Now let's look at how to build some advanced templates with the Azure Developer CLI. So first of all, going to the cloud with some of these architectures is very difficult. You have to understand which cloud service to use, libraries, local dev environment, provision infrastructure, roles and permissions, infrastructure as code, run locally, deploy to cloud, monitoring the observability. I can't even say that. CI and CD pipeline. All we want is to take a application like we have and to pop it on there to call Azure OpenAI and maybe cognitive service. So surely someone has done that before, because I don't want to have to worry about that as an architectural diagram. It's too much for me to do. So we partnered with the Azure team to create the Azure Developer CLI journey. And what that does, it just means that you can download, or you can actually, it will pull in the project for you. You can go AZD init, it'll create your project structure for you. You can go AZD app, which will then, similar to Terraform, bring up all your provisions, pipeline config, which will go in and then create your GitHub actions automatically for you to build your application, and then AZD monitor will go in and monitor your application. So let's see, how do you get started? So you go to https azure.github.io/awesomeazd. You can scan that QR code also, and it'll give you the template library of all of the advanced OpenAI templates. And one of the templates I want to show you today is the ChatGPT plus enterprise data with Azure OpenAI and cognitive search. Remember what I said earlier, that we wanted a little bit more of a meaty example that we want to go through with that though. Now, I recently had the experience of having to need to use this awesome template within 4 hours. I was called on to speak at the United Nations on Anti-Corruption Hackathon, and in that, I said to myself, wow, I need to actually teach them how to use AI to go in and teach and train people on how to promote anti-corruption in the public and private sector. So I downloaded the ChatGPT and Enterprise Data in Azure OpenAI and Cognitive Search template, and within a space of 4 hours, I had taken all my documents, and I'm going to show you in the demo here, and created, you can see here, reference the documents that I've uploaded and found ways that AI can prevent and detect corruption. Now, what it's going to do is I've uploaded those documents, and it goes and scans them into cognitive search. You can see there the anti-corruption module 6 discusses, and it goes through all of that, and then it says citations, and it includes citations. Let me show you exactly how I managed to do that. So let's get out of here. Let me go to Microsoft Edge. Bring that in here. And now I want to go into the UN ODC. There we go, my little chat here. Now, this is running in Blazor. It's a C#-based application here. And I've loaded the documents in here. I actually loaded them up as part of the AZD init and app lifecycle, so it goes in there and scans them. You can actually go in there and select the PDF documents. You can see that this is all of the documents that 4 hours before I actually deployed it, they'd given me, and I'd said, okay, cool, how do I teach and train this here? So I've got all of the material here, and then I can go into the chat here, and I can say, chat with your data, what is corruption? Now, it understands the basics of what corruption is, though, or anti-corruption, but it doesn't know the reference material that I've loaded into cognitive search. So what is corruption here? And it says I'm generating an answer. And this is exactly, it's using semantic kernel to go into the plan, exactly like we wrote the joke book, except here, it's using my own data, using the RAG pattern. So it says corruption, it's associated with integrity and ethics, and it goes through all of that. And then the citation there, and now I can actually progress through that. And how I did that, remember the plans and the skills there? I actually wrote here a skill, and it defines you're a system assistant that helps people understand corruption, and then it can actually go in and look at the supporting content if I needed it here. So this really is the RAG pattern come to fruition, though. We saw earlier that how you can do a very basic joke book, and we use the Semantic Kernel Planner to go in and string all of those planning skills together. And now we've seen here that you can actually do the same, except you can go to, and let's go see here, Awesome AZD. Let's go open here, Awesome AZD templates here. Now I want to search for OpenAI, hit enter, and you'll see there you've got all of those nice little templates. And I want to show you, this is the template that I use now, ChatGPT and Enterprise Data with Azure OpenAI and Azure Cognitive Search. You can go in there, and now to execute this, all you have to do is install the Azure CLI, and then I'll show you here, and it goes through all of that there, but it'll give you the instructions. This is how simple it is, though. Let's not go run locally. There we go. AZD init, and it'll give you that template. And then you can actually go AZD up, and it'll deploy to Azure. And what it'll deploy is the ability to actually use cognitive search. Let's just go a little bit faster. It'll take the Azure Cognitive Search there, and then it'll use the RAG pattern with Azure OpenAI. It'll retrieve all of that information, just like we saw with daisy chaining with the semantic kernel, and how to actually get through that. So that's everything I wanted to show you today. You can get started on the QR codes that I'm about to give you here from current slide. There we go. Let me just minimize that. And I'm going to leave you with a very easy QR code here. I gave you the previous one here, and you can scan that. And that's Semantic Kernel. You can go to aka.ms/semantic-kernel. All of the demonstrations I've showed you are also there, along with you can go to Awesome AZD, and then you can actually start implementing the semantic kernel along with the RAG pattern there to go in and to teach an AI not to repeat, but to complete. Thank you, everyone. You can follow me on Twitter and on LinkedIn. I'm Rory Preddy, and you've been a gracious audience. Cheers, everyone.